We booked a tour tomorrow that's going to be extremely cold, so we had to hurry out of the hotel and try to find like cold weather stuff. So we got some beanies and gloves from a street vendor. It is 3:30 a.m. and we are setting off for an incredible adventure. Today we are going to Rainbow Mountain. We are stuck in Cusco, Peru.
This is one of our sad videos. We want to share all of the highlights as well as some of the low points, because at some point in the future, we're going to look back on these videos to really remember what it was actually like to be in all of these places. So we're not complaining in this video, we just want to share our real experiences.
The main reason we really wanted to come to Peru was obviously Machu Picchu. That's why most people come to Peru. Although there are many things to do in Peru once you get here, I think that is the main draw. So when we landed in Panama, we got an email saying like there are some protests happening that might block the road to Machu Picchu, so we got to get to Machu Picchu and get out as fast as possible. But so far we were totally fine to keep going to Machu Picchu. We just had to be aware of these protesters blocking the road.
We got that email saying that there are going to be some protests, and so we need to do Machu Picchu as fast as possible and get out of the entire Sacred Valley area and back to the main city of Cusco so that you are not trapped in Sacred Valley. Of course, like, we didn't really know what that really meant before arriving, and we know a lot more about that now.
We kind of just thought everything would be fine. We're like, just move the protesters. Like, I don't know, what's the big deal? So anyways, we get to Sacred Valley. The night before we're supposed to go to Machu Picchu, a tour guide calls us and says, hey, we can't go to Machu Picchu tomorrow, not because of the protesters, but because there was a massive landslide and they had to evacuate everyone that was there. So it wasn't the protesters that ended up ruining Machu Picchu for us, it was the landslide. So it totally ruined the railroad tracks, so you can't get up there. There's like giant boulders like in buildings, like water, like it actually looked really, really scary, and we are really grateful that we weren't there when it happened. I don't think anyone actually got hurt or died or anything, thank goodness, but it still looked really scary.
That was something that was so like weird to us. We thought like the protesters or the people who were striking were going to impact our trip, but it turns out, yeah, it was the landslides. And so we didn't even really know about this until like the night before we were supposed to go, and then that's when we got the call saying we can't go. And then we started doing a bunch of research about it and realized like, wow, this is a pretty serious issue. And yeah, I guess we had to leave Sacred Valley like the next morning, and instead of going to Machu Picchu, we had to head back to Cusco, and a day earlier than we were supposed to. And so we had to leave that hotel and then come to the one that we're staying in right now.
They did have us leave the Sacred Valley though, because there was going to be protesters along with the landslide. So we were like, well, we can't do Machu Picchu. That's such a bummer. They kept saying like, maybe you'll be able to do it tomorrow or the next day or the next day. We didn't really have high hopes for that. We figured like, it's probably not gonna happen. So we were like, all right, we're gonna make the best of this. Let's do all the other things that we wanted to do while we were here, including Rainbow Mountain and Humate Lake. And we were like, we'll just do that. It'll be amazing. We'll miss out on Machu Picchu, but it's fine.
Yeah, since we did have a couple extra days in Cusco, we figured, hey, like, these are things that we actually wanted to do anyway while we were in Peru, and we didn't know if we were going to be able to get to Rainbow Mountain or if we were going to be able to get to that lake Jenny mentioned. All like great things, and we're like, well, I guess now that we have more time here, I guess we can go do that. But we just really weren't aware of like the severity of these protests that were going on. Apparently, the farmers in this area are upset that their fertilizer price is too high. I've learned way too much about like Peruvian politics and the way the farmers are acting. Like, I never thought I would learn this much, but like, that's what happened. Like, when we were actually leaving Sacred Valley, we didn't really know the severity of these protests. And so we were just like, okay, I guess we're going to Cusco.
And we'll do all these other things and it'll be fine. Like, we're bummed that we're not going to Machu Picchu, but we'll make it up somehow.
And so then we're like, okay, so we booked Rainbow Mountain and we were about to book the lake. And then I guess the morning of Rainbow Mountain came.
We woke up at 3:30 a.m. We got like 4 hours of sleep. We rolled out of bed. The night before, we had like bought a bunch of like, because Rainbow Mountain's 16,000 feet in elevation. So we bought beanies, we bought gloves. We were so pumped. We were like, we're gonna see Rainbow Mountain. It's gonna be awesome. It's totally gonna make up for the fact that we didn't go to Machu Picchu. We woke up at 3 a.m. We went outside our hotel. The shuttle picked us up.
Started going, and then what happened?
So it was about like 3:50 at this point, and our guide gets out to go get a few other people from their hotel, and he's gone for like a really long time, like 10 to 15 minutes. Like, it should take like 30 seconds. In, out, got the people. He comes back in, he's like on the phone, like super frantic. And I was like, I think it's fine, but I don't know. So he starts talking to the people behind us in Spanish, like saying all these things, and we're like trying to pick it up, but not really. And then he turns to us and he goes, so the protesters are blocking every road out of Cusco. There is no possible way that we can get out.
Every road.
You can't go north, you can't go south, you can't go east, you can't go west. Like, no road is open.
And I think it was actually worked in their favor against us that Machu Picchu was currently closed because of these landslides. And so they knew like everybody had to come back to Cusco because they weren't going to Machu Picchu. And so they just decided to block every road out of the city. And that meant that we were unable to drive to Rainbow Mountain that day.
So they dropped us off and they're like, well, maybe you can still go to the lake. I don't know, like call the person that you booked this tour with or whatever. So we like are frantically calling them at like 4 a.m. And he's like, yeah, no, you can't go to the lake. Like, it's blocked. And they sent us pictures and the roads were just like, they were tearing down trees and putting them in the road so that nobody could get by. Like,
and there were many cars that were trying to get through that I guess were not as aware of the protesters, or just thought that since it was so early in the morning that they would be able to get through.
That's what we did. We left like an hour before we were supposed to, thinking that we would just beat the protesters. They would protest while we were like on the mountain hiking, and then by the time we came down the mountain it would be cleared. But
that's what we thought, and that's what a lot of other people probably thought too. We were just sent these pictures from other tour guides in the area, just showing these lines of cars that were just going for probably miles and miles, just trying to get through. But because the roads were blocked, everyone was just at a standstill. No one was moving. Some people were even trying to walk like past because they thought walking a few miles would be quicker than trying to drive through it.
Oh, also we learned that this happens like a lot in Peru. Like, we looked up like Cusco protests, and this was like not even the first one that came up. Like, they block the roads often. Like there was not just the farmers, like the miners, the farmers, like tons of different groups of people like are always blocking the roads.
Yeah, we looked it up, and like something like this happened back in July. Something like this happened like a year ago. Something like this happened in 2018. Like this, I guess, like we never heard about this before coming to Peru, but I guess it happens a lot. It's maybe something that you want to keep in mind if you're planning to go to Peru or the Cusco area or the Machu Picchu area. Just something to keep in mind. Like, you know, we just happen to be here during the week that this is happening, like every 6 months to a year. So, I mean, most people don't have to deal with this issue, but I guess you might have to.
And we asked one of our tour guides that we were doing a city tour with if landslides happen a lot at Machu Picchu. And he said, no, I've never seen this happen before. And so we were like so we really knew how to pick the week to come, is what you're telling us.
He said never in his lifetime has he ever heard something like this. So we're guessing this happens like at most once every 50 years.
Maybe. I mean, I know there's like mudslides a lot, but this was like an actual like landslide, rocks, water, all the things. So mudslides happen a lot, not so much landslides. I will say, like, I'm gonna preface this with every single Peruvian person that we've come into contact with is the nicest person I have ever met, maybe in any of the countries that we've gone to. Like, genuinely such sweet, caring people. I think I was a little bit disheartened that these protesters were like, I know exactly where all the tourists are coming, and I don't care that they spent thousands of dollars to get here. Like, we're gonna block them for days, and we're gonna ruin every single person's trip. And like, that was their intention behind it, because they knew that that would be what would get the attention. And like, I understand that what they're protesting is important, and I totally support them. I think it was just a little bit hurtful to me that they were like, we're gonna do this intentionally.
Yeah, and it wasn't just that they were trying to block the roads so that the tourists couldn't do all the activities that they planned, but like, it was also that they were blocking the roads, and potentially like all of the local people that were trying to like get to work, they couldn't do that. Like, a lot of the cars that were stuck in line, they looked like they were just local cars just trying to either get to work or just carry on with their normal life.
Yeah.
And so also, the agency that we booked like Rainbow Mountain with, like, they're going to lose out on money too, because now we can't do that. And so like, they're going to have to refund us our money, and they're going to lose out. So I mean, like, the protesters, they
have a valid point, of course.
And like, I guess they're successful because it definitely caught the attention of the government, and maybe they'll get their way. But it's like, I guess they were successful, but we are just sitting here in our hotel room wondering what we can even do, because we're in Cusco for the next couple days, at least before we catch our flight. That is a positive. I don't think the roads are blocked to the airport, so we can still leave when we are scheduled to. We're just really sad right now. We are definitely going to try to find something fun to do while we are in Cusco for the next couple days. But we've been researching, just doing a lot of time just like in our hotel room, trying to find something to do. Hopefully we can do that to make a few more videos while we're here, because we know we would enjoy that, and hopefully you would too. I guess maybe we might have to come back to Peru sometime in the future to do Machu Picchu, Rainbow Mountain, all the fun things that we wanted to do while we were here this time.